I attempted to establish in my previous video that Karnov for the arcade was a well-intentioned but crappily produced arcade title that, if anything, brought headaches to humanity with its downright satanic difficulty and unusual and over-exuberant enemy placement. I would have accepted the loss of development time and moved on, but nope, not Data East. They had faith in their fire-breathing Russian strongman. They wanted this character to succeed. I'm glad they kept the spirit alive because the result became one of my favorite and also one of the most quirkily programmed NES games of all time. Meet the new and downgraded Karnov. Ba-da-ba-da-da-da-da. This version of Karnov was co-developed by Data East themselves and SAS Sakata, who worked on a variety of console ports in the 80s and 90s. The NES port of Karnov is somewhat faithful to its arcade counterpart, keeping the general mechanics the same. He's still a puffy pantsed superstar capable of spitting out fireballs directly from his face. Karnov regularly grabs extra items that he can use on his quest, although having to press left and right, the same buttons he uses to, walk, to select each item is cumbersome, with some new items in tow. The shield is especially useful for blocking barrages of bullets. And yes, he still tackles dinosaurs, upbeat Medusas, and renegade C-3PO clones in his quest for treasure. But this port sports a few major changes which make the game go from awful to relatively awesome. First and foremost, the number of enemies has been greatly reduced, and thank goodness for that. I don't know how anyone in their right mind could manage to survive in the arcade version, but enemy placement and frequency has been significantly toned down, and rightly so. There's hope after all, and the wizard at the end has been replaced with a three-headed, ogre dragon of sorts. Same method of defeat though. As well, two of the levels are completely different and unique. Let's take a look at stage 4. In the arcade version, Karnov has to venture through a fiery volcanic area laced with random fire bursts. But on the NES? Nah, let's do the exact opposite and check the icy tundra for treasure. The end boss remains the same though, nasty old Medusa Jones. Meanwhile, Stage 8 is also a bit different. With joystick in hand, Karnov would have shuffled his way through some creepy Dr. Seuss-inspired forest. But on the NES, he's forced to sprout wings and fly through a mystic ruin. That's some crazy shift, isn't it? But perhaps the most helpful change is that Karnov's no longer a one-hit wonder. If he takes a hit, instead of insta-death, he turns blue, his skin having grazed that of the Spectre of Death. Or maybe his skin just drops in temperature suddenly for no apparent reason. Who knows? No worries though, he can collect orbs within each level to change back to his natural reddish hue. It should also be worth noting that the Japanese version has some differences than that of North America. For one thing, it has very limited continues, and considering how unfair certain parts of Karnov still are, that definitely kicks up the difficulty a notch. But, absent from any other version, arcade included, is an actual storyline, complete with cutscenes before the game starts, and even between stages. Unfortunately, they're all entirely in Japanese, and we can't read them. But wait! Thanks to the good people at Vice Translations, we can now hear the courageous tale of Karnov, though actually, it paints him in more of a negative light than I expected. Once upon a time, there was a little town in the land of Klimina. One day, a sorcerer named Alakatai appeared and stole the villagers' treasure. The villagers tried to defeat him, but failed. Alakatai, whatever, ordered his demons to attack them. Seeing the trouble below, God decided to send an envoy. His name was Karnov. Wait, hold the phone here. So Karnov went from being a fire-breathing circus performer to an envoy of God? That's quite a switcheroo, don't you know? Karnov only did bad things during his life on Earth. So now he worked as a servant of God. Wow. So you can do terrible things and still get into heaven? Didn't know that. So God here bestows a special power on Karnov and sends him to defeat the evil. After each stage, God gives advice to Karnov on what to do next, such as... And once Karnov successfully defeats Alakatai, he returns to heaven and becomes an official heavenly guard. Nice promotion, dude! This is quite a change from just being a treasure seeker, eh? Oh, and of course, the citizens rejoice and have peace forever. Yep. The NES version of Karnov remains a personal favorite, and it's a pretty decent game, although it's kind of a weird one. But this is not the only port Karnov received. Other computer versions were produced by various companies, but none of them could compare to the NES version. Just look at this DOS adaptation. Karnov never had a sequel, so the question remains, what happened to Karnov? Where did he go? Thanks for watching! If you have retro hype of your own, consider dropping a like, subscribing to the channel, and leaving a comment! Yeah!